Hey, you ever wonder why so many relationships struggle and why so many people just really can't keep themselves together with another individual, whether that is a marriage or whether that is a working relationship, whether it's a friendship? Relationships can be extremely difficult. You ever wonder why so many people have a problem when it comes to really trying to really get to the bottom of why they just can't connect and mesh with someone long term? And why is there so many people that just can't figure it out and things just slowly fall apart? And you go from this thing and from that thing and this excuse and that reason that causes people to say, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, I can't do it. Well, we're going to talk about 6 deadly mistakes that really stop relationships from working. Now, we want to really break down some things that people don't often think about that are involved in what causes a relationship to really not be able to arrive at its full maturity. So we're going to talk about each of these, and I want you to really, pay close note. And I hope as you listen to these, you will think deeply about them and, jot some of these down. And I want you to also leave me some comments about, some of these that kind of stood out. Maybe you got an aha or an epiphany about why this can, really be impactful, to any relationship. Okay. So first one, let's go to my whiteboard. I'm going to write these out. So the first thing we want to deal with is revenge. Now, revenge, right, is this whole issue of I will get you back. Right? Now, what a terrible situation to be in. We're in a relationship. You have an individual. This is a devastating mistake. It's to enter into a relationship in your mind in which someone that you're supposed to be building something with, something you're supposed to be establishing with someone that you care about, and it is in your mind and heart to get them back, right? You got this sense that they have won. You got this sense that they got the upper hand. And so your mind has shifted into how to get revenge. Like, I'm going to get you back. Once you kind of enter into that space in your mind and you start to think with a mindset of revenge, the next thing you know is you're going to begin to start thinking deeply about how you can actually hurt or do whatever is necessary to get even with this individual. Well, this is a great danger. And so this is something we want to fight against. We don't want to ever be in a situation where we find ourselves on the other side of seeking revenge. We want to be careful that we don't enter in this mind. This is a big mistake because in the end, you're giving so much energy into tearing down your own relationship that you'll wonder why it's so difficult to keep it together, because now you've got a seed of revenge that's been planted. And when you plant a seed of revenge, we all know one another as human beings. We can tell when someone has, did something out of revenge. And so it plants a seed in the garden of someone else's heart that then says, well, I'm going to now exercise revenge. And it never stops. Why do you think there's so much violence in the streets? Someone kills someone's friend or brother or uncle, and then someone goes and kills someone, their friend's uncle, and it just never stops because everyone's trying to get revenge. And this, imagine in your own relationship, the thing that you set out to be great, the thing that you set out to be special, that now 2 people are working on how to actually hurt one another. This is a big, big mistake. Now, let's go to another key word, and that is envy. Envy, right? So to think about, I want what you have, right? But it's from an angle that is tied more to jealousy, and believe it or not, people in relationships actually can get envious of each other. You get real close to a person, and then you notice those things that everyone honors them about, or things that people like. Maybe you have a husband that can really cook, or a wife that is really able to, it demonstrates some sort of talent. Maybe they're good with numbers, or they're good with some specific specialty, right? And or maybe they're beautiful, and you can be envious of that, the attention that they get. So when you allow envy to enter into a relationship and get to the point where you're starting to allow this to break down the very fabric of what you were trying to build together, because now you're starting to compare yourself with one another. And this could be between two friends, and they start off as friends, and then all at once, some envy starts to set in. You start to wonder, well, that attention you're getting, I want that, right? I don't want you to seem better than me, smarter than me, more beautiful than me. I don't want anyone to think that I can't have what you have. And because I see what you're getting and I see what you're arriving at, eventually I begin to do anything to get that, so much so that I'm willing to destroy the relationship I have with you so that I can have the things that I think you have that I don't have. This is why we see so many music groups and things that always fall apart. We see so many sports teams that could have been great, but no one could get it together. How many championships could Kobe and Shaq won if they stayed together the whole time, right? But it was just too much in the ego and envious of each other. Like, I want what you have, right? I want this to be my team, my name, right? So we have to be careful of this when we think about our relationships. Now, here's another key thing, is lying to yourself. Some of you might have thought I meant lying, just lying, and you might have been say lying to the other person. But no, one of the most devastating mistakes that people make is lying to themselves. So, for example, saying, I am not like that, right? So someone that is continually saying, I'm not like that, that's not me, they never own anything, they won't admit that there's something that can be better. The greatest lie and the worst lie is the lie to oneself, because you don't even recognize that that's what you're doing. A lot of times, people that are lying, they're lying to protect something. They know it's a lie, right? So that's what makes it a lie, is that I'm intentionally not telling the truth. But when you keep lying to yourself, you start to believe it. And after a while, you begin to get set in your ways, you get set in your mind. And no matter what anyone tries to tell you, that can actually make you a better friend, that can improve a relationship, that can actually, allow you to grow as an individual when it comes to building bonds with others, you keep saying, that's not me. I'm not like that. That's not true about me. Right? And so because of that, you can never grow as an individual that is more mature to build a healthy relationship. So this is a very big one, right? Being willing to understand that this is a horrible mistake that someone can make, because now you're not living in truth. The reality is, if there's two things trying to come together in a relationship, for these two things to come together, someone's gonna have to change, right? I gotta change my hands if I want to bring them together, right? I can't leave them like this. I gotta open them and change how they're structured, right, to bring them together. This is kind of true in a relationship. But when everyone keeps saying, I'm not like that, one's trying to help, but I can't grab a hold because this just becomes a punch, right? Because no, the other person's not willing to open and change forms so that those hands can come together. Lying to yourself is what will create this, right? And it's a frustrating thing, because you can't even have a conversation when one person doesn't want to talk about what's real. So this is very, very important. So don't be the one that's lying to yourself. Now, I want to talk about another key element of this, another key word, and that is anxiety. Anxiety, right? So this is a negative feeling about a possible future outcome. So I want to just point out that this is a negative feeling, okay? And also it's a possible future outcome, right? Now, we know no control over the future. No one has control over the future. So the challenge is when you get a person that is just overwhelmed by anxiety because they spend too much time thinking about potential things that can have a negative outcome. So when you're dealing with a person that's always thinking about what can go wrong and why things won't work and why it won't work this time, it's so difficult to build a relationship because, a relationship is going to have mistakes, it's going to have challenges, it's going to have things that didn't go well. And because you realize it's going to have all these things in it, then you start to realize that once you make a mistake or do anything, it goes into this bank of issues that this other person now is going to let load and fill their anxiety. So they'll use the history in the past to build this case against the future. And they become the attorney and the judge. And they say, I submit Exhibit A of why this is not going to work because last time we tried it didn't work. Exhibit B, you use these same words 6 months ago when we said we were going to improve and spend more time together. Exhibit C. Then you stand as a judge and say, order in the court. And then they become the jury and say, we find the defendant guilty, right? All of this in one person's mind. So when you begin to do that, this becomes something that almost becomes impossible to build a relationship with an individual that is always thinking about what can go wrong. And they constantly are overwhelmed and paralyzed by anxiety. So we have to realize that anxiety will rob us of the ability to create a positive future outcome for always thinking about a negative future outcome. So we have to think about the warfare between anticipation and anxiety. And the only way to begin to address that is to know that anxiety is real and to stop yourself from spending so much time about things you can't control and always thinking about the worst instead of what good can come from any situation. All right, let's go back here. So another word I want to focus on here, and this is a kind of a different word that you don't hear every day, but this is totalitarian. You don't hear this all the time. This is used a lot with governments, but this means this is more of I have the final say. I'm going to add this. So deal with it. I'm going to add that in there. Let's really make it real totalitarian. So totalitarian is what you see. This is normally used a term a lot of times with governments where someone has become a dictator. They're a dictator. What they say goes. Nothing you say even matters. Right? So did you know that a lot of big mistake in relationships is coming into a relationship like a totalitarian dictator? In other words, what I say goes. There's no room in your tone, in your demeanor, in your voice that lets someone know that their thoughts may matter. It is actually to have no regard for anyone else's opinion, no regard for anyone else's feelings and thoughts, but this is what it is and deal with it. Well, after a while, someone might go along with that for a period of time and they're willing to have a relationship within your kingdom. But after a while, someone's going to get tired of that. And this is what causes relationships to fail, is because so many times, this is what we see in a lot of foreign countries where there are arranged marriages and, especially there's some societies where it's like, a woman is not supposed to say anything at all and just go along with whatever the man says. But you'll find for there to be a good relationship in anything, a healthy relationship. Some people are like that at work. There's some people that, they oversee people, but they think more as a boss and not as a leader. And so it's all about the fact that they have the power because they pay you. They feel like they can say whatever they want to you in any way they want to, and you must just deal with it. But that's not how you build a good relationship. And so we have to lose the totalitarian behaviors and attributes and voices and tones and thinking to realize that we're in a collaboration and not a dictatorship. Now, that doesn't mean there's not authority. I'm a strong believer in relationships that we should still respect each other's talents, abilities, responsibilities, and even roles. I believe there's a role of a husband is different than a role of a wife. I still believe those things exist in the earth today, that there was an intention of what a man is supposed to be and what a woman is supposed to be. I still believe in those things. And when everyone gets in their proper order and place, that doesn't mean that a man might be highly talented, cooking, for example, and a woman might know how to fix on a car. It doesn't mean that there can't be skills that different ones have. And it's, you say, well, a woman can only do this and a man can only do that. But I do believe that there's some things just by the nature of how men and women were made that is more conducive for a man to do and a woman to do to help a household be safe and protected and well kept. But it's a team effort at the end of the day, especially if there's a marriage. But even in a friendship, even in sports, you have to respect each other's roles, but you have to realize it's not a one-person rule. It's not a dictatorship. It has to be something that leaves room for everyone to grow and participate in what actually is going to make the relationship better. Very, very important. All right. Let's go to one final word. I told you this is going to be number 6. And I want to talk about the word empty. This is a critical word. And this is where you allow yourself to get to the point where you're saying, I have nothing left to give. This is an enormous mistake that people make. And so when you look at, let's say, the relationship meter, right? And imagine here, it's like the meter's been going down and then you finally get it down to where this is all we got left. We're critically low, right? Now, what do I mean critically low? Critically low in the energy it takes, right? So the energy to build a strong relationship, it takes energy. So this is why a lot of people opt out. They get tired of the conversations. They get tired of trying to fix things. They get tired of apologizing. They get tired of admitting they were wrong. They get tired of saying sorry. They get tired of the things you got to do to make somebody else happy. You get tired of trying to say things in a way where people will listen and all of that. It's like, I just don't want to deal with it no more. And what happens is, there's a point where we start to, things start to move. And next thing you know, we're at this critically low. And what happens is then when a trial or a test comes to hit the relationship, you don't have enough energy in there to be able to respond to that this time. And this is where this relationship eventually will begin to fall apart. And what do we basically mean is one or two of those individuals have got all out of the energy required to build the relationship, and they finally got empty. So getting empty is one of the worst things you could allow to happen. So how do you keep things filled up? Is you have to keep, so when you start to communicate, even though you don't want to, when you keep complimenting when you don't want to, and you keep doing the things that you don't want to do, this meter starts to rise again, right? It starts to go up. right? Because doesn't mean the relationship is perfect, but your energy is going up because you're implementing things that you know is really good and healthy to make a relationship strong. And then all at once you start having issues and it starts going back the other way, right? You're going down, you get in the critical low and you say, oh my God, let's get this back going this way again. Oh my God, what did she say? But let's go out. Let's go out and get something to eat and talk it through. Then it starts going. This is the battle, right? But when you let this keep going, right, you get this all the way down to where it's critically low, and eventually it can get empty. This is where people make a mistake. It's not monitoring that relationship meter to not allow it to get to empty, because when it gets to empty, there's nothing left that's going to actually help you to be able to fight for your relationship. And this is, again, the great danger. So what have we learned? Let's look here. Check this out. We learned about revenge, right? This was number one. We learned about envy, right? Why that's so critical. We also learned about lying to yourself, right? This is a critical one. Stopping the lie to ourselves. We learned about anxiety and the role that can play. We learned about a critical word, totalitarian, right? That we don't want to be a dictator in the relationship. And then we learned about not letting things get empty. Now I want you to notice here, we've actually spelled something here, which is relate. Does everyone see that? So this is a good way to remember these 6 things is relate. If you want to relate and keep a relationship and you want to stay relatable, you want to remember, right? Revenge. Don't let revenge come in. Envy, lying to yourself, anxiety, totalitarian, empty. These are the things we fight against, and these are the things we promote in You Are a CEO. How to be the CEO of yourself and your emotions so that you can actually build healthy relationships that allow you to actually begin to live a life that is fulfilling. I'm Michael Lee Parker. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me some comments if you enjoyed this. Did you get something out of this? What stood out to you? What did this make you think about? What kind of thoughts came to your mind? And remember, make sure you subscribe. Don't just stop by. Join the channel and be a part of what we're doing here at You Are a CEO. And if you want more information like this, find out more about our community. Click on some of the links in the description. You definitely want to be a part of this community because we believe in helping us rise above all the things in life that get in the way so that we can live our best life and our best self. Until next time, make sure you keep on charging, expanding, and overcoming. Hey, you ever wonder why